The United States and the Taliban are holding their first face-to-face talks in Doha since the militant movement seized control of Afghanistan in August. They're discussing security, humanitarian aid and the safe passage out of Afghanistan for American citizens and some Afghans. But Washington insists these talks don't amount to recognition of Taliban rule, and the Taliban has ruled out cooperating with America to confront the so-called Islamic State and other jihadist groups within its borders. Well, I got the latest from our correspondent Yogita Limai in Doha.
Well, US officials say this is a continuation of engagement with the Taliban on matters of national interest. At the top of the US agenda is the safe evacuation of American nationals who are in Afghanistan, other people who have permits to leave the country. In the past few weeks, there have been delays and difficulties in the air evacuation process, and the Americans will be trying to iron out those problems and hold the Taliban to its commitment on giving safe passage to anyone wanting to leave the country. We've also just heard from the Taliban on what they're hoping to achieve from these talks. They've said that their senior officials have met with senior US officials. From the Taliban appointed Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi, we've heard that both sides have talked about what was discussed in the February 2020 Doha agreement, and that they should stick to what was negotiated during that agreement, and that no one should interfere with the internal policy of any country. The Taliban, what they will also be hoping to get from these talks is humanitarian aid from the world. At the moment, a large part of the funding that was going into Afghanistan from global agencies has been frozen because of fear that it will fall into Taliban hands, and the group will be trying to negotiate not just with the Americans but with the international community to have a resumption of that funding.
You could say these talks reward the Taliban for the violent overthrow of an elected government. Does the US address that head-on, even behind the scenes?
Well, the US has been saying that this is not giving recognition to the Taliban government or giving them legitimacy. They say it's a pragmatic thing to do to continue engagement with the side. There is going to also expected to be also discussion about the delivery of humanitarian aid to Afghanistan, and how can that be done if it doesn't go through the Taliban? Is there any other way of getting aid, much needed aid, to millions of people in the country who don't know where their next meal will come from? But there will be people around the world, and especially women in Afghanistan, who will be wondering why the Taliban's commitments on women's rights, on allowing girls to go to school, on allowing women to continue their jobs, all of the things that they had talked about when they were negotiating that agreement in Doha in February 2020, that when that has not been delivered yet, why does the international community continue engaging with them? And Afghan women will be waiting to see whether there were women who were part of this discussion with the Taliban.